Yeah, so I think we should start with Agatha. Can I even speak?
Yes,
Since it ended
it
and we
did.
still
It has,
have
yeah.
Penguin, which I still liking Penguin, still think it's probably one of the best written shows out there. I'm having a specific problem with it, and you probably are having the same specific problem that I am at as well.
Yes,
So we
yes.
will get to that later because I thought I was crazy thinking it, and then when I saw more and more tweets come out and say it,
Yeah, I saw the same tweets and I've been, yeah, we'll get to it.
right, we'll
We'll
get to that.
get to
Yes.
it.
So Agatha All Along, two-part finale. The
Yes,
first episode dealt with um really kind of the conclusion of the witch's road.
yes.
And I felt like Jen's story kind of got um I don't feel like they were, yeah, like I was actually kind of more interested in hers than hate to say Alice's. Like I felt like they did a great job for Patty LaPone's, her Lila, her episode, the whole circling of the generational curse. Okay, I mean, I got it. It was really cool effects, but I really kind of felt like Jen got kind of the shafted
Yes.
backstory, especially like because it seemed interesting. She at one point she was being drowned.
Yes, by some random guy that we never heard more about. And yeah, it's like they got to her trial, but it was at the end, so they had to give us her trial
But wasn't her trial
while
the first
giving
one
us
where she made the potion? Who else could it have been?
it could be Mrs. Hart's trial, but she didn't really have a
She wasn't a
trial.
witch.
It's true. So maybe the first one was her trial, but there was so much more that needed to be discussed. And I
Yep.
guess maybe the writers or whatever, the way we're supposed to look at it is maybe there was more that needed to be discussed, but we gave the big reveal that it was Agatha and also she didn't die, which all the other witches
Which
did. But I feel like that should have given us even more of a
I
backstory
just
for
feel like
her.
she got so shortchanged because
Hmm.
with
Lilia.
Lilia saying to her at the end, "You're like basically you're the future," and then sends her away, and then it's like she finds out 3 seconds, later that yeah, Agatha's the one that had her magic bound, and then you're really never even given a reason for it.
Yeah, never given a reason. She takes her power back and then disappears, which, yeah, I guess she got what she wanted. So the road, Billy, sends her away.
Right.
Um, and then you don't see her till she climbs. Yeah, and then you don't see her till she climbs out of the dirt in Westview and leaves, which, like,
Right.
cool, but there is so much there
Right.
that wasn't even referenced again because she got her powers back after finding out the big reveal from Agatha, immediately disappeared, and you did not see her for I think the rest of the episode.
So
You
she
didn't
flew
see
off.
her till like towards the end of the actual finale. And in that, when I say you didn't see her again, I literally mean you saw her and she flew away. No
Right.
dialogue, no nothing.
No, she got really emotional and then took off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, for one of the major players in this to not have like, yeah. So I thought hers was kind of shortchanged. You do start to get some of the hints that came in the. I know episode 9 was like the finale, and I know these were both the finale, but and like we'll get into it in a little bit. But I felt like episode 9 was almost like an epilogue
Yes.
it felt like it was they couldn't have put any of that other stuff, they couldn't have put anything that was in episode 9 in earlier, obviously,
Mhm.
because you would have given a lot of things away, especially the backstory of it,
Yes.
the road. But so I felt like they kind of like did it was almost like a really long extended credit scene.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair
Like so
because
you're like, okay, it's not
yeah,
it it was like it was an episode that was needed, but it was like they didn't know where to put it, and it felt
yeah.
weird at the end, but it was like, I get it. But episode 8, you start to get those hints of what happens in episode 9, or like what you're about to find out, at least
Right.
towards the end of even episode 8, I guess. With him coming to the realization that he had created the like keep seeing all of the
Do we
things in
dare
his room.
say he created a pocket reality, or are we saving that
Right.
for like Nathan Reed?
Right. And I like how it was described, I guess either by one of the directors, show writers, or whatever, that because he had just come into his magic and he wasn't as good as his quote unquote mother, his realities were so small that like you saw Rio cut open the backdrop and
Yeah,
climb through
yeah,
it, which was crazy.
that was wild. And I saw people complaining about it. I'm like, no, she cut through the fabric of like that was so good. I
That
loved that.
right, that she like even like I said, you started to get hints of that. Like that was a hint of even she knew this road wasn't, and the whole setting wasn't real.
Yeah.
What was going on? So like, no, I thought it was great. I thought this is insane. She is just cutting it
Just took
open,
out her
and
knife and just cut it. And it wasn't like Charlize Theron at the end of Multiverse of Madness where she like cuts a hole in reality and it's purple and whimsical. No, this was
right,
literally like wrapping paper just cut
just
open.
and climbs through. That was that was great. Now, I will say probably the best scene I thought in 8, see if you agree or if you have a different one, is when she is helping him find his brother. And the line that he screams out, "Am I killing this boy so my brother can live?"
Yeah,
was
that was deep.
that
And it
like took
made
the
you
wind out
think.
of him. Yes.
Yeah, because he just didn't see it coming. And then I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Is that what's happening?
That
That moment of not clarity, because he was questioning it, but that moment of potential awareness, I guess.
yeah,
That
that
was
like
heavy.
I'm wanting my brother, but at what cost?
Hmm.
Like, am I, like, was this in this kid's future to be dying? And yeah,
I'm
that
finding a
like it
kid that's in danger, and instead of him potentially being saved, it's like, no, like you're going to die.
right, I'm pushing the soul out so my brother can have a vessel. Like that
Yeah.
that scene, that when he said it so clearly, like, oh, like,
Yeah.
because he's dealing with a witch and Agnes who just doesn't care.
She doesn't care. She's stacked so many bodies, she can't even remember all of them, which
Well,
also
like
was
she
a great
says, she's like,
scene.
there's 120 bodies every minute. She's
Yeah.
like, just pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So that was, yeah. So then then again, you find out towards the end that he all along had created the road, which, had been hinted at
Yeah.
if you had like looked at any of the background of his room and stuff like that. There were the signs there that he was the creator of this, but that like his magic is so juvenile and so fresh and green, that he was only creating, things that he's seen, or just even just like they said, they were basically going in a circle. There was no road, because then what you find out in episode 9 is
It was Agatha all along. That's what you find out. Like,
there
it was
was no
just a
road.
song that her and her son had made up, but it was convincing, like songs do or like legends do. Because I saw some people saying, like, well, that's not realistic, or no one would think that. Like, that's how the
Almost every
boogeyman
legend.
and all these Bigfoot, all these different legends have come about through just stories and songs. So they
Yeah.
went around singing it, and witches would, yeah, like
You realize
there
that
was,
people go to church and sing
yeah,
hymns based on a story that has been passed down through thousands of
exactly.
years. Like,
And as far as they know, witches were they were luring them away to
right.
kill them. But as far as they knew, witches were disappearing, and it's very easy to see how the legend of the road came
Grew.
to
Right.
exist. So, I mean, I thought that was very interesting. I thought oh, what's the word? The montage of her going through the different eras, basically just taking power was wild. Now, I haven't watched New Rockstars yet because I feel like they didn't post it, but
They did
they did. When?
yesterday.
When yet? No, no, no. When
Well,
yesterday?
first of all, be fair. The reason we're not taping this, the reason we didn't, we're waiting that we're taping this on Tuesday was your power went out. So,
Power went out, which just bummed me out because it wasn't even storming at the time. It was just like raining, light rain. Power went out.
yeah,
45 minutes, the power comes on. Try to get back online. They're like, oh, no, no, no. We turned your power back on. Your Wi-Fi is going to be out for like 6 more hours. Did a lot of reading. Um, but what I didn't understand, and maybe they broke it down. I knew why she was killing them to start because basically it was like a soul for a soul, except
right.
hers kept stacking. After her son was taken from her, why did she continue? That's what I didn't get.
I
Was
think
it
it was
just
just to stay young. Although, like, you would think that, let me pause this real. All right. Yeah. So yes, that was that was the only thing that I gleaned from it was that she because I guess again she that it because of the dark hold in her possession, and that was what is keeping her young. Through dark magic, she needed to feed off of that, and that's the reason she kept doing it because it seemed like she was doing it. But clearly, she was doing it long before he ever came around because she was
right,
doing that was why she was on trial with her mother in Salem. So she had been doing it. So I don't um it's I was actually kind of more confused as why she was doing it when she had him was his magic like when she I'm also confused about when she said like I made you for like you were made from scratch. What do we mean by made from scratch? Was she involved with a like house scratch? Is he human? Is he magical? Is was he fed off of magic? Like did he
the
need that?
reason why I feel that we don't know, I feel like she was doing it while he was alive is because Rio made it clear that he was not going to survive,
Right.
and she owed her souls or bodies in order to keep not keep her off the scent because it was like I guess they made a deal, but just to appease her.
But he was getting sicker.
Yes, coughing quite a bit.
The
Now,
dark
did the
circles
coughing
under his
start?
eyes. He was
Yeah,
very skinny.
yeah. So she was key. Yeah, it's weird, but
It's like, was he being sustained off of her draining? Right.
right,
Which, like, was that his? And that's reason when he finally says that's enough. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then he kind of gave himself like he thought he was the reason she was doing this, and he wanted her to stop
right. How
without him.
aware was he? Because he knew they were dying. Like
Right.
it wasn't like he thought, oh, like they're just hanging out. Like he knew what was happening to the witches.
Right.
So yeah, was he aware and decided that he wanted to end it and he gave himself up? Um,
Yeah, that's my thing is like, okay, how made from scratch was he? Was he made from I don't want to use his name Mephisto, but I mean like was he devil born? Was he human born? Was he made, because she said no magic or whatever, you were made from scratch. Well, that still doesn't mean that she couldn't but then she says no magic, so it's like she's not obviously immaculate. Again, there are questions that I I'm okay with them opening some questions towards the end and not, again, like they say always a good finale should leave you with some questions. And we did get a lot of them answered, but I feel like some really big ones kind of popped up.
yeah, now that Force Ghosts are in play, like what are the implications there? Like I guess ghosts exist, which isn't, shocking in a world full of aliens and extraterrestrials and all that, but
But can only
I've
witches
never
see
really
them?
seen that before. And I guess Agatha was choosing to not go into the great beyond because she didn't want to face her son.
Right.
So like maybe all the other spirits chose to and she didn't, which so
Well,
she could be
they
like the
did say
only
when that
one.
in the episode with her mother or the one sub or was it I forget you're gonna have to remind me Lilia.
Lilia.
Okay. Says to her like the reason ghosts they hang around is because there's unfinished they have unfinished business
Yeah.
here on Earth.
Yeah, like
And that was the
600.
reason her mother hadn't. So she's obviously not wanting to face her son because she would have to explain, like he would be aware of that she kept going even after he
I mean, he
died.
was in the cabin when Alice died. He that was his voice saying "Mom,
Right.
no." So he's very aware.
Yeah. So she's not wanting to face him yet. And now this is her chance to kind of do more good deeds to outweigh, like she's not wanting, I think that's the reason whole she's off with Billy to find Tommy and to kind of start
Try
down
to
the path
balance the
of
scales a bit.
right
Got a long
until
way to go. I mean, you find Billy or not Billy,
Tommy.
Tommy like cool. There are decades. I saw a montage. I saw a montage. Like Tommy's not balancing
Right.
those scales.
Yeah, and like what was your frequency here? Like did you only
Right.
do it every 10 years? Were you doing it every
Right.
just every century? Or
Yeah.
were you like cuz maybe you hate to say maybe not so many bodies, but I mean like are we needing this every week?
That's the
Every
thing. If we're just going off, I mean, I take the Salem trial out of it per
right.
se, because like you were strapped to a post, like you were gonna die. So we'll take those four out. But just in the montage, that was at least like 16. Like,
Right. At least.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got Alice and
You were
well,
going to do that coven
yeah, exactly.
until the door actually appeared and then
Yeah.
you were like, "Oh crap, here's a road and now I've got to make up stuff as we go."
And we could forgive all of that. But you took Dolly Parton's man. Like that's unforgivable. So like
Right. The
doesn't matter
real
what you do.
Jolene.
Doesn't
The
matter
real
what you do.
the real Jolene was
Are you the
revealed.
reason the Titanic sunk? Like so
The Hindenburg crashed.
yeah, so finding Tommy, cool. Like congrats on that one good deed.
Right.
I don't know. You got some more to go.
But that's right. I mean, but I'm pretty sure that that's their reasoning behind it is that now she's going to help somebody that she saw her son in.
Yeah.
Like she saw somebody as like this is like my son or like she's like I see my son so much in you or like I can hear you in
Yeah,
him
when
or
you say something like that, that reminds me. That reminds
right. So
me.
like clearly that's what her goal is. You're right. She's got a lot of but now that she is kind of the ghost, she's more true to the comics
It's true.
because yeah, Agatha Harkness is a ghost, as far as like or her
He
astral.
was killing it in that wig. I gotta say, the silver hair, it worked.
Woo, right? And we got our kissing scene.
Yes,
I mean, it
that
was the
is the
kiss of
other
death,
thing. He died immediately after, but I was like, thank you, Marvel Disney, because like you teased us way over like at the beginning when they were fighting in the
but
house.
now we see why they couldn't
Yes,
because it was a kiss of death.
it was the kiss of death,
It
which means
was the
y'all had a
kiss of
whole
death.
relationship, and I need to know how that worked. But we'll save that for the DVD commentary.
It's right. Like that's like there's some ways you just want to go and maybe and
Yeah,
making
yeah.
out
I mean,
with Aubrey
that's the way I'd go. I'm not going to complain.
making out
I
with
thought
Aubrey
the
Plaza.
Wiccan reveal, not reveal, because he was revealed a few episodes ago, but his return reveal was pretty well done when he finally just embraced it. Now, I will say, how are people still living in Westview? Like, I mean, I guess your property value is probably garbage now, but I'd be trying to get out of there.
Or you get some freaks that would be more than happy to move in.
Honestly, that's true. Like, you could probably sell that house for any house there, you could sell it for
Right?
quite a bit, turn it into
Right?
a new Salem, but maybe Sword is making them stay there because like when you had the whole thing with in WandaVision. Then you saw some of the same neighbors when Agatha was dealing with them as her
Right?
her herself. Then you saw the sky turn green and all of that, and you saw them looking outside their windows. And I'm like, what are you still doing there? Like,
These are all like witness protection people who
Yeah,
can't
that's what I'm like.
leave.
Is sword keeping you? Are you not allowed to leave? Because if it's me, like
It's like,
my house is on the market the next day.
no, they're like, well, hey, who knows what we'll see tomorrow? This is
Right.
all very like, oh, death came to
Yeah,
visit
death
this
was
time.
here.
This
And
is,
so were seven Grim Reapers that we saw for an instant and then disappeared, which also I loved Lilia's episode, but like they really hyped up the Salem Seven just to have them do nothing for 8 episodes or 9 episodes.
yeah, just to kind of whisper in the background and
Yeah,
just keep,
whisper in the background, give us point people in the right direction when they're chasing them, and then Lilia turned a card upside down and killed them all
and
immediately.
poof, they were gone,
Yeah, I thought, oh,
right?
maybe they'll come back or a version of them will come back. And you didn't see them ever again.
All right. Although it seems to me like it would be really simple for the ones that could fly to dart out,
I thought about that watching the episode and thinking about it after, like, okay, you were falling,
right?
but some of you have flying powers. Couldn't you like stop that from happening?
Yeah, because that wasn't the one was an owl and one was a raven, I believe. Or
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
A
So I'm
crow,
like,
a
yeah,
raven,
couldn't
something
they
like
have
that.
just yeah, you just turned into your winged form and
Yeah,
but like they said, they only showed five bodies hitting. I believe they only said they only showed five bodies
that
hitting.
is true.
So,
So yeah,
but we ever going to see him again? Probably not. But
probably
it's
not.
always like, well, it's out there, just much like Jen is floating around. So,
Yeah, just flying around, terrifying the people. Because as far as I know, as far as we know, outside of Wiccan, because Scarlet Witch is gone, Jen is the only. Well, there's a lot of witches, but she's the only active witch right now.
active witch right now.
So
Yeah,
who knows what they're gonna do with that? But
if anything.
overall, I enjoyed the
Still,
show.
yeah,
It was a good finale, like you said. 8 was the finale, 9 was the epilogue. That
right,
they literally could not plug it anywhere. So like it made sense
right,
that it went there, but it felt off. It was not my absolute favorite finale, but when I think of the recent Marvel shows, Loki is the best one.
sure.
Like that is the bar. But it's better than outside of Loki, this is one of the best start to finish shows that Marvel's done in quite
WandaVision
some
was
time.
pretty solid up there. It
Echo
tied up
is yeah, bad and what was the other one that
Secret Invasion.
so, yeah, that one. Yeah. Like it tied up, yeah, it did a good job. And I saw some people comparing it, like, oh, so there's a group of queer queer witches and we're learning about them and there's this mission and there's mystery. For Star Wars, you hated it. For Marvel, you loved it. And I'm like, well, because the level of execution, like
Right,
we do not want to hate Star Wars, but don't try and just say the two storylines were the same when we said the actors in Agatha were all great. They killed it. We both said Amanda Steinberg, however, maybe not the best choice for that role. Soul was great,
right.
but there was a lot to be desired through with the storytelling and even with the mystery with Agatha, there were questions. They opened a lot of boxes, but they started closing them throughout the episodes. Whereas with the Acolyte, they opened a lot of boxes and they just kept opening more boxes.
Right.
And like the biggest box was getting teased the whole time, and you didn't actually close that box until the very, very, very end. And even then, it was only like halfway closed. So while, yes, if you just write down a show that involves queer witches and a murder mystery, I could say I'm talking about The Acolyte or
Sure.
Agatha. Like, yes, from that standpoint,
Right.
they are the same. But if you
But
really want to have that conversation, the
right.
execution of one was amazing and the other one sucked. Like,
Exactly right. And it comes down to writing and having an actual direction.
yes,
Like and things throughout those episodes linked back, like again, like you said, you did close doors. You did
yeah,
close boxes that had been open. Like you were able to like if you go back, I'm sure now if you we were to go back and watch Agatha from 1 to 9 just continuously instead of the week after week, we would now, after having seen it all, go back and you would be like, oh, I do see like all of
Yep.
these puzzle pieces they were putting in front of
Yep.
us. With as far as him being the one that's like in charge of this road and Agatha making up stuff as they go along because
Yeah.
a road never existed and now there is one, and it's, you know, not only that, like she had an idea that he was the one that created it, but he like couldn't like let him know that he was in charge, but he was in charge of it without him being aware he was, like, and how much that plays off of Wanda and how she was,
Yeah.
and how like they delicately had to let her know, okay, you're in charge of this reality, and everything went haywire. I mean, she's got to be thinking the same thing. I don't know how delicate this boy's psyche is. If he realizes, if I let him know in the middle of this, like you've created this entire, if I pull him to the side and be like, "What are you doing? You created this entire road." What he's gonna do? Like
Exactly.
last
Yeah.
time, it
Because
ended up almost
you,
destroying a town.
exactly. Like last time you got your power taken away, a hex was put on you. There was so much that was done.
Right,
Yeah, Agatha had an idea. So even when they were doing something, she looked and was like, I didn't think you had it in you.
right,
Like, yeah, they dropped clues throughout the entire thing, but yeah, she couldn't just go and say it because especially once she like killed Alice, if at that point she went and was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you created this," it's like he could probably end you right there.
right.
Or he could do something to like this dude created a reality.
Right. He
Like,
already put you in mud thinking that he might have killed you
yeah,
just on a whim, like his psyche a little bit
yeah,
fracturing at that moment. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think overall it was good. I think um I liked seeing him come in as Wiccan dressed in his Wiccan gear was great. I thought it was a great scene when he's flying in and landing with his headgear and his pretty much his costume true to the comics. I thought that
yeah.
was great. They do go into New Rock Stars as far as the stitching that's all in his
I saw some clips of that from other
yeah.
people.
Yeah, that goes into like it's a little bit of Vision, it's a little bit of Wanda. So it's pretty good because yes, he's Billy, but I mean like, and he has his memories of Wanda and Vision, but it's still kind of he's still trying to maneuver between the both at places of being William and Bill, like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought like I said, the show overall was really good, because again, it comes down to writing and execution. Are you
Yeah.
going, or and hiring the right actors to pull it off? I mean,
I
you
thought
you you had
that
Patty LuPone. I mean,
yes,
I
you
mean,
they knocked the casting out of the park. I thought you had Aubrey Plaza. Like I was sold. Catherine Hahn, I've loved her in everything she's in. She's one of my favorite actors that no matter how small the role is, they
yeah,
just put their whole heart into it. I
eh,
appreciate that.
for
Like I was
thing.
I was talking to Sarah about the Wizard of Oz episode and how
Hmm.
she was in the green paint and throughout the whole episode, if she was in the background, if she was looking somewhere, she was like
Oh
doing
yes, like
stuff
her
with her
hands were
just
like,
and it wasn't it the camera wasn't even really on her. She'd be in the corner of the screen
hmm,
and she'd be looking and she's like it just
right.
absolutely love her just the way she acts. It just down the line and then John Locke, who I don't think I've seen in anything,
Mm-mm.
he killed it with his dialogue, with the one-on-one scenes, his emotion, which again, Amanda Steinberg, there were some very emotional scenes in The Acolyte that I just did not feel anything. But with him,
No.
like you said, am I ending this boy's life to save my brother? Like you
Oof.
felt that in your chest
Yes.
when you said that.
Yeah. That was a
I
gut
thought the
punch.
the cast did a phenomenal job. And then the writing, and not just the Lily episode, which we both said should be up for all the
Oh
Emmys,
yeah.
just The writing episode to episode, the detail, the care, all of that was so good. And it
Oh yeah.
shows you what is possible when you have people that care. And it also shows the people that a 90% female-led cast is completely fine. Like I know there was Wiccan's dad, and then Nicholas towards the end.
Nicholas towards the end,
Other
and
than that, it
the
was just
neighbors.
women all the way through, and I was like, this is great.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Her
just
it was
very
Herb.
well done.
Herb. What was her neighbor? Like the two
Oh yeah,
neighbors.
the neighbor. He was there for a brief moment too, her. But yeah. So for the haters that say it's just terrible because it's women, it's like no, because they flawlessly, almost flawlessly executed this entire show. 8 episodes, 9 episodes. Like I would recommend this show. I would watch this show.
Yeah. So speaking of women and what a great job they do, let's go to the Penguin because again,
Yes.
that tends to be overlooked as far as the fact that once again, you have a female show creator who
Yes. She's been
came up with
killing it.
right. So yeah, so what did you think of this? Let me tell you something.
Yes.
That opening scene, whoo, that
This
uh
man is
that that was rough.
I did not
I didn't see
I
it coming.
wasn't ready. I did not see that coming.
No.
Like they died. Okay, there was mystery. Did I think they were killed by someone or something? Sure, because they didn't really
Yes.
dive into it. What
Right.
I did not expect was him to just lock them in and have them drown. And on top of that, it caught me so off guard because unless there had been some discontent that I missed, that came out of left field because it wasn't like they'd been beefing the whole episode. Like, yeah, they'd, made a few comments back and forth, but they're fine.
They're brothers.
Didn't they? Yeah, they're brothers. Yeah, they were very much siblings. They're walking down the street talking to the guy that Oz idolizes and all this different stuff, literal sibling comments, and then they teased him a little bit, and then he locks
But
it, and
he
I'm like, okay,
was jealous of his brothers and the attention that they were getting from his. You could tell it early on, he wanted his mom's attention all to himself.
yes,
When he was watching them all in the apartment, you could tell that he is a very unhealthy attachment to his mother.
yes. And
Um,
that was terrible, but towards the end of the episode with the flashback when they're at the club, which how did the 12-year-old get in the
right.
club? I felt like his mom was responsible for what he became. I mean, the kid had some issues, but
He
telling
did
your
smile during the when he's sitting on the couch with his mother and they're
yes,
watching the is it Fred Astaire scene where he's
he's shooting,
shooting
yeah,
and he cracks a grin at the same time that he knows his brothers are like he's still looking over his shoulder, he's watching the rain, he's
yeah,
and they're editing with the intercuts of little boy screaming, "Help me!" And then
yeah,
oh,
yeah. But I do put some of the blame on his mother
sure,
in that final scene. A parent's job is to provide the best life possible for their child. And she's looking at this 12-year-old and is like, you need to work to give me everything I deserve. Promise me, I
right.
deserve a good life. I deserve this. I'm like, okay,
That's a lot to put on
calm
a
down,
kid.
Mrs. Cobb. Like, this is a 12-year-old kid that you are basically telling he owes you, which
Right.
is the whole thing I always feel with parenting. Like, yeah, it's another thing for another day. But I felt like she was responsible for some of that. But yes, he had a
Sure.
very unhealthy attachment to his mother and was jealous of his brothers. And at the first opportunity to get rid of them, kind of just shows you he's not loyal to anybody except for his mother,
Yeah, exactly.
which did
That
also surprise me. And I was wrong. I mean, there's still time for him to turn on him, but I
Vic
had
was
said
still
a couple
alive.
episodes ago, I thought he was gonna turn on Vic and have Vic killed. And then when he knew the jig was up, he had Vic escape. Now he did want him to go bring him an army, so like he had his own motives, but
Sure.
I was surprised, especially knowing that he's a weasel and is loyal to no one except his mother previously before this episode, and then seeing that episode and seeing his own brothers not even loyal to them. I was shocked that he was like, "Oh yeah, Vic, get out of here." I'm like, "Are you sure about that?"
Yeah.
But that
That oh,
was that was heavy. I did
that was
not expect that. I
heavy.
was shocked.
That was oh, hearing those little kids scream and just
Yeah. Well, yeah, whenever the kids get involved, it gets me. Like I said, I watched Game of Thrones and I watch people get beheaded and have their eyes gouged
right.
out. And I'm like, oh, that's rough. I don't like eye stuff. But during the Red Wedding, when they were stabbing what's his name's wife, pregnant wife, that was like 8 seasons, a million deaths. That's like the one thing I'm like,
Or
that was a lot for
putting the
me.
baby at the stake,
And then I was gonna say, and then the baby at the stake. Like those are the two things I'm just like, maybe we've gone too far. You want to
right?
behead people, you want to gouge somebody's
Or
eyes,
when
like
Ramsay
don't.
feeds his stepmom and the baby to the
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah. Those are the scenes where I'm like, ugh. So then you see the kids, and then when Sophia visits the girl at
Children's home.
the children's home, like that one was rough because even though it wasn't Arkham, she was drawing parallels, which then made me draw parallels of like, man, Sophia went through all of that. This is a child. I was like, yeah, you know what? Get her out of there. Sophia, you're a murderer, but maybe you should adopt her.
But it's like, okay, can she? She wasn't acquitted.
That's true.
She's still considered the hangman. She was really I mean she was released from prison. So again she's still considered a serial killer. So it's like
Yeah,
would was she even allowed to?
yeah,
So it's like yeah, but you could see the familial cycle starting all over again as far as this little girl the cutting herself and being locked away and not and once again saying I have information, I have the truth, and them saying no, you
yeah.
just got to stay here and nobody's gonna know. um i I still feel like I still feel like there might be hints of the Julian, I can't think of his last name right now, becoming somebody.
Do
um
they change it from Hugo Strange? Because you could argue, well, his middle name's Hugo, but like his last name needs to be Strange. That's the rule. His name
right,
needs to be Strange. So I am curious about that as well. Because yeah, there's just the way he talks. I don't trust him. I
right,
don't trust him. And then people are like, well, he's trying to get too close to Sophia. Like, well, my guy, I get it,
look at
but
her, right.
there was the scene where I forgot like the first time you see her in the episode when there's like the camera pans up and she's like standing in a room and she's like leaning up against the counter, just powerful. I'm like, listen, I know you've killed a lot of people, but like I'm folding. But yeah, something about him, I mean, it doesn't sit right with me,
Yeah,
but I don't know where they're taking it.
I'm currently reading Batman The Long Halloween, which a lot, I don't think a lot of it, I mean, like, well, obviously you have you have or you have the holiday killer in
Right.
it, and you also have her in it as far as being the hangman, released from Arkham. But there is a character in it, Julian Day, who's the calendar man, who was in Arkham prison at that time, who he usually commits crimes on holidays and
Yeah.
important days and stuff like that. So he's kind of like Batman's Hannibal Lecter in that series, where Batman goes to him because he's locked in Arkham prison and is wanting to get information from, like is picking his brain when he's on the trying to track down the holiday killer. The only reason I thought him is because of the names being similar, just because it's Julian Day and it's Julian Rush. And other than that, I thought, well, that would be an easy, like, could they do that? Yeah, because they haven't done any holiday focused killing. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you're not doing that storyline because I do believe it was Alberto. I haven't got to the end of this, but spoiler alert, I do think from my understanding of the story of the series, is that the holiday killer ends up being Alberto Falcone. So you can't do that because
Right.
obviously, he's dead. So you're not doing that storyline. But a lot of the families are introduced in, not introduced, but you really get, the family dynamic as far as the Falcones and Maronis and stuff like that in that book. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, you're kind of using him a lot to like just maybe just to ditch him in the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, are
Agreed.
we really going to just not have him around after the
Yeah, it's having
series?
a lot of screen time for someone that potentially has no future.
Right. Right. So I'm like, but then like you said, like if it's Hugo Strange, you have to have that name unless he change his name,
I was
like
gonna
is
say,
he
does
gonna
he
just
change his
change his
name? He
name?
goes by his middle name, and then Strange is just the name that he makes up, like Han Solo, or
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I kn- yeah. I mean, he was very willing to do whatever he was doing with Oz's mom, like just trying to understand her, but I also think he was trying to just melt her brain. Um, I
So two things out of that episode.
yes.
How did you think they about handling the Sal Maroni's death?
I that was literally about to say that was the worst cop out I've seen in my life. They're out
But
there
pretty
throwing
good
hands.
because I mean, like he is an old guy
Ah, I
whose
mean,
heart pretty much is given out because of his family
his
being
wife and
taken.
son.
Right. He
Yes,
had been
I've been going
stabbed.
back and forth.
He had been stabbed in prison.
Okay.
His family dies. Like, I think it was, they gave you kind of the unexpected. I think it
Yes,
was
he
in,
had to die, and I actually like the idea of Oz not being the one to do it, but to immediately look around, realize there's nobody else here,
right.
and take credit and walk out. Just yeah, I like
And mad that he couldn't do it, so he puts bullets in him.
yeah. I thought that was great writing. And I guess the biggest cop out is maybe harsh. I expected more from such a big name in the Batman
Sure.
universe. And I realized the Maronis in this universe are past their prime because they're in prison
Right.
in the Batman, they are not around. So I
Sure.
realize even though I know who the Maronis are as a
Sure.
fan, I realize they're not the same level. So I guess that's just my personal views of it because they're past their prime. He's in prison, and even in this show, they are the secondary family to the
Sure.
Falcons. So I guess that it's harsh, I guess just for me coming to terms with that's how the Maroni line pretty much ends.
Right.
Um, but it made sense.
It
But
gives you an insight also again into his mentality, of Oz's mentality of
oh
like you
yeah,
can't,
I
like
was
you're not
yes,
going to
for
do this
sure.
to me, like you, like he's like, he makes sure it's like, I want, I won, I beat
Yeah.
you, I beat, and
That's
it's like,
yeah.
bro, the guy's dead. Like,
Yeah.
but the fact that you just keep yelling it says so much more about you right now in this instance than
Yeah, then that's what I mean. It was great writing in the sense of not allowing Oz to be the one being upset about it,
right,
but immediately saying, "But I beat you,"
right,
putting the bullets in him, continuing to yell, and then coming out and being like,
throwing
"Yeah,
his
two,
body
two
out,
men walked in, one walked out." Like,
right. He throws his body on the ground. You're like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
calm down. That's
I thought that was just really well done.
And the second thing before like we go into like maybe our predictions for this, which is kind of lead into maybe where our predictions are for this. You know what I'm going to say.
I know what
And
you're gonna
it's
say, and I wholeheartedly agree. Even though it's daylight, I still agree. Where is Batman? Where is this guy? Because I could, like we said an episode ago or episode two ago, there's a lot of dark alleys. He can't be in every alley. He's probably busy because a lot went down. Like the city flooded. There's a lot going on.
right,
That being said, you dealt with the Falcons, you dealt with the Penguin, you watched the head of the Falcons get shot. The week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, the rest of the family dies. Maroney,
Suspiciously.
suspiciously, uh, Salvatore breaks out of prison,
Yep.
which like so now there's just like a lot of crime family stuff going on. There's rumors of a new drug, all of this different stuff, and now you have an explosion in the middle of the street. Now, to be fair, the episode ended like 30 seconds after, so
Sure.
maybe he's on the way, but and it's daylight, but it's like, where is this guy? And for the people that said, well, it's Batman, he prefers to operate in the dark and he doesn't want to be seen. He's a shadow, he's a legend. Yes, except for this version of the Batman proved that this dude will show up to the Iceberg Lounge as Bruce Wayne and as Batman. This guy did not care about being seen. He didn't drop through the ceiling of the Iceberg Lounge. He walked to the front door. You know he exists. Like
At the police station.
at the police station. So we can't do the whole ninja thing when this guy in his own movie was very much, I'm here. I'm in the police station. I'm leading people out of the city. I'm going to your nightclub and beating people up and talking to you face to face and not dragging you into a dark alley. No, I'm talking to you right now with all these people around.
And the point of even because like a lot of the people were saying like because I had tweeted some about saying something about like it's becoming a glaring hole. Like this is it's your wantingness, not yours, but the directors or the story writers or your wantingness to keep him out of it and make this a penguin thing is the pendulum has swung so much to wanting to keep him out of it that it's almost becoming so glaring that he's not in it. Like it's
No one's
because people
even
were like,
referenced it.
yeah, but they were like, well, he's new to this, and and I didn't reply to anybody because I wanted us to talk about this first online or on here. Is in that movie, people were already scared and the
The
whole
opening
opening
scene.
scene of the Batman was people freaking out and you didn't know which dark alley he was going to,
Hmm.
but people were terrified. People were
Yes.
like looking over their shoulders. And the good thing about that movie was you're right, it highlighted how he couldn't be in every dark alley, you know, being Batman in every dark alley, and fighting every criminal there was. But the criminals were so scared still. Even if they were committing crimes, they were looking over their shoulders and freaking out or not wanting to go into dark alleys. And now, like, they were freaked out. They were scared of the Batman already. And I think, did they say it was he had only, like, I forgot what his journal, like, when had he only been
One
doing it
year.
for
It
a
was because people
year?
thought it was Batman year one, but like this was his first. I think this was like his second year.
Okay, yeah, like, but again, he had already established like he was already building the reputation of he's out there and he's watching us. So to just be like, well, he's still new at this. Now it looks like nobody's ever heard of him. You're back to like I would be more believable that this would be year one
Yeah.
than this to be taking place after the Batman where you've been
Selena not knowing him, I could excuse because she's been in prison, but none of her or prison Arkham, none
Penguin
of
has
her.
was in a car chase, an
Yeah,
epic car
exactly.
chase in the first movie with him.
Well, and I was thinking about it the other day when all of the Falcons ended up dead that day and the police showed up. Where's Commissioner Gordon? Because he was one of the ones that was arresting Carmine. He
Right,
was involved with the whole Penguin Carmine situation. He was there when Carmine was shot, at least I think he was, but like he was involved in all
right.
of that. So when a new Falcone takes over and you've been a commissioner or you've been, captain, whatever you were for a while, so you have to know that Sophia's former driver was the Penguin. Like he has to know that. And now they all end up dead. Sophia's out of prison, and you're out here. At minimum, Gordon should have showed up. But yes, it's gotten to a point where
It's obvious now.
Unless, yeah, unless
This
there was an
white
alternate
elephant,
ending where he rode off on the motorcycle with Selena, which again, if you do, I would have done it too.
props.
More power to you. Forget Gotham. But unless you were off with her in Bloodhaven or wherever, where are you, dude? Like, I realize you're helping in the relief efforts, but when the Falcons are dropping dead and all of this is going on, like, you're
I
telling me that
still
while you're, yeah,
I was gonna say, like, I don't even need him to show up. I just need something said on a radio show, on a TV show, in the background of like, where is the Batman?
where is the
Because you
Batman?
saw he was you knew he saved the mayor.
Yeah,
So like at this point, even where's Mayor Real saying, like where it like all this is going on, where's it? Say it on a like they could be in the car and it could be you could just hear where's the Batman and then turn it off. I just need an acknowledgement that that this huge badass crime fighter is out there that you were
yeah.
supposed to be scared of.
I
Just
thought
some
the
acknowledgement
Penguin
of it.
maybe they could have had a scene where, when they were doing when they were supposed to sabotage the truck so he could take the drugs for the Falcons or whoever, when he was playing both sides, he could have said like, "Oh, I've got some of my guys setting off explosions or setting fires on the other side of town to keep the busy."
You're
Like,
right.
just say something
Something.
to acknowledge his
Something.
existence.
Yeah, I don't need to see him. You're right. I don't need him in the show. I don't need him to take over. I don't. It can be Penguin show. I don't need it. But the mere fact that you are almost going out of your way not to acknowledge him is
Yes.
making me only think of him more now.
Yeah, because we're not saying we need to see him. We're saying acknowledge him.
Acknowledge that he's out there. So
Yes.
again, just a statement. Again, they could be walking from room to room and it could be a news story and like a pundit on TV saying it. But the mere fact that you're going like you're making it such an obvious thing that we are not going to draw attention to his name at all. Now I'm fixated on every big thing that's happened in Gotham and now he's not like nobody seems concerned about him. Whereas in that movie, you had us all believing that everybody was terrified to do anything because he was around. And again, Penguin dealt with him, so he knows he's
Yeah,
there.
see, there was, I remember, I saw one comment saying something like, why would the Batman be worried about the Penguin? He hasn't established himself yet. And I'm literally like, they literally kidnapped and interrogated him for a whole movie. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
They had multiple
He's so
conversations.
insignificant. He had a car chase with him and
Yeah,
like like to the point where like they were going through like it wasn't like from the corner to the corner, it was through multiple cars and like he was
yeah.
chasing him
Through
down.
an exploded tanker. Like,
Yes, like this what are we doing here? So what are
yeah.
your predictions for next week is the finale? Predictions for the Penguin, um, Sophia, and Vic.
I think Vic is gathering his army to, or Vic is going to the heads of the families to tell them that Oz was captured. And I think some of them will be like, yeah, who cares? But they made a deal. They all cracked their beers together. So I think he is going to show up with people and they're going to have a brawl in the streets like the end of The Dark Knight Rises. My other thought is, as far as they know, I'm sure the word has spread. Oz got the power turned on. He did that. The citizens, not just the heads of the family and their goons, it could quite literally be the people of that city all gang up and are like, yeah, no, we're riding for Oz because he got the power turned on. So like,
Right.
and Oz becomes the guy that he idolized growing up. Like, I see that those seeds have been planted. He got the power turned on. I see that happening. I think his mom still ends up dead. I think there's no way that she gets out of this. I think they've been setting up her death for a little while now. Plus, the Penguin's saying she's the only one that keeps me good. Like, my God, looking at that now, it's like you killed your brothers, but whatever.
Right.
Um, you stopped being good a long time ago.
Right.
Um,
Do you think she ever finds out?
I don't think so because nobody knows except for him, and I don't think he would tell her. He would gain nothing from that, and no one else knows. Um, I think
Think
I'm
Vic's
trying to
innocent?
decide because I don't think multiple crime families can coexist. It's happened before,
Sure.
but I just feel like Sophia is not playing by those rules, and I think both of them look at each other as the other one of them has to die. So I don't know how
So
they
you
figure that one out.
do you think she lives, or you think she lives is in Arkham? Do you think she's dead?
I think she lives.
Okay.
I don't think she goes back to Arkham because I feel like if there was a chance of her going back to Arkham, she would off herself. I
Really?
don't think she would find a way to not go back to Arkham, even if it meant ending it all. Um,
Her and Julian Rush go into hiding?
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking her and Julian go and they maybe work on a new drug together. Because I think all the bliss is gone now. I if Because as far as I know, Penguin had all of it and they blew up the tunnels.
Right.
The whatever's out on the streets is probably being used. So
Right.
you're back to zero. So I think that I don't know if the Batman makes an appearance. I know they've tried to make it not about him. Does he show up? Does he swoop in and save Penguin, like, save Martha and save my mom? I don't know. With Vic, I also don't know. Like, I know maybe he's just a side character and not every character has to become someone. Maybe he's just an independent character
Right.
who,
His
does what.
consigliere, yeah.
Yeah. So I, and I know this is just a lot of rambling. I honestly don't know.
I
I
know.
don't know.
I'm hoping they don't kill her. I'm hoping that they really want either they do send her back to Arkham and she kind of now that she has been in Arkham, she kind of can take what she's learned either from being in Arkham and on the
That's
streets and
fair.
kind of rule, like establish a hierarchy in there. Or she goes on the run with Julian and they do a kind of a holiday man, even though like I said Alberto Falcone in the comics was the holiday killer. Maybe they can make her one and but split it, I guess, like them as a duo since he's a calendar man and was killing people on holidays anyways. They could do that. But that I again, we know that they're not supposed to be the villains of this next movie, so who knows what's
Yeah.
happening. Um, yeah, I don't think his mom survives it. I kind of have a feeling I feel like at this point maybe Vic does survive it. I do feel like he might because he's going to need a right hand, like he's going to
He's
need
had
a
too
right hand
much
man.
character development to not.
Right. I feel like
I mean, he killed the guy, and Penguin was like, "It
which
gets easier." Like,
which Penguin was Falcone's right hand man,
yeah.
like he was his right hand man. Well, I mean, he was his driver, but it was but enough that he was tied into the family that he made an appearance in the Batman movie, right?
Mhm.
So it would be weird to get rid of that character, but I mean, like, so I'm hoping that Sophia and Julian kind of take off and go into hiding from him to try to maybe one day take back over, like hope that Penguin ends up dead or they can reboot and gather enough to, power back to kind of try to threaten him again.
What's tough is that we know there's another movie coming
Right.
that correlates to this movie, but we know that the movie is not going to just be a continuation of these characters'
Of shit.
story.
Right.
So there has to be some level of conclusion for these characters
Right.
that will kind of sort of maybe involve you in little bits and pieces in the movie. So that's what makes it tough because the
Right.
movie's right around the corner, kind of, and you know that all of these characters, while they might be featured in it, are not very important. But in this show, they are important. So
Right. Right.
I'm stuck. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know how it ends, and my
So,
theories are all garbage.
well, I mean, that's the part of the, like it's fun to at least make them and see how right you
Yeah,
are in the end because, there is only one more episode. So,
yeah.
yeah, we will see, yeah, next week how it all comes to a conclusion. It's been a great show. It's great writing. It's been it, even at this point, they're putting out episodes that even if it's not the entire episodes, I still think the Sophia in Arkham is probably from beginning to end is the most. I mean, they're all solid, but is probably the most is still one of the best episodes I've seen. But even then, every episode it has a scene or a storyline in it that is like blows you is like like wow
The
that
flooding
was
from the one episode, the Oz backstory, the whole Sophia episode, like, yeah, just throughout the show, there have just been different things. The last episode with the different dialogue conversations between
oh
individual
yeah, all
characters, like,
family oriented, him
yeah,
lighting the
yeah,
Maroney's on fire. It has just been like
right.
it has been just constant, just it's so good throughout. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested in seeing how this show in particular sticks its landing.
That's that. I've said it on so many different episodes of this podcast. There has just been an issue with finales, and not just through one company, just across the board. Shows have not been able to figure out
Right.
finales. I'm very curious.
So it's like, does this one in fact is this the show that's able
Right.
to do it?
Yes, because right now it is probably the best show I've seen this year
Right.
from start to finish. And I thought Agatha was really, really good, but this show has just been better. I thought House of the Dragon was very good. I did not enjoy the finale. After you and I talked about it, I actually
But there's a different
understand.
but I feel like I agree with you. But I feel like even then the difference for House of the Dragon and this penguin so far as we know right now is a one-off. Whereas House of
Yes,
the Dragon, you're like, okay, it's good, but I also am
you
like
know
I don't
that
care what you're leaving open because I know that there's going to be more
exactly.
seasons, whatever. Like that's fine. Like yes, great. It's kind of like football. Like this week was great, but I know another week's going to be that. It's this one where you're like, okay, this
Yeah,
is it.
because of what we just said. Even though there is a movie coming, the movie's not about you.
Right,
So you can't just leave stuff open. Like, well, we're gonna close that up. No, no, you're not. This is about Batman and Mr. Freeze or Hush or whoever the villain is. So
right.
I'm wondering, like, this show has been phenomenal.
Does it stick the
I'm
landing?
does it stick the landing? I need to know.
And we're going to know in a few days. Like at least, well, it won't take our minds off of this week and this day particular. But I mean,
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
at
Whew.
least after however long this process takes,
Yeah.
at least we will have that to look forward to on
That's
Sunday.
true. That is true.
And
Yeah.
then eventually then we'll start up with Dune. So
I'm excited for that.
right.
And that one is I'm very excited for it. It's another show that I feel like got no hype going into it. Um
Which has been good so far.
yeah. I will say one of the shows I didn't really talk about was the Fallout show. I thought was one of the better shows of
Hmm.
2024. One of the best video game adaptations of a show in
Adaptations.
a while. I think The Penguin's been better, but I will say that was a show that I think it was 8 episodes as well, from start to finish, was just really, really, really well done. But I'm excited. I'm excited for Dune, but like 1,000 years or 2,000 years before,
10,000
so
years before.
10,000. So a
Yeah.
completely independent
Completely.
story. Characters that we can appreciate and watch die and not really care because they don't
Right.
really impact Mr. Atreides.
Right.
So very
It's gonna be
excited.
good. It's gonna be
Yes.
good. We're excited for Sunday.
Yes.
we're excited, hopeful that it all like
I am very hopeful. I am very
ties to
hopeful.
the end. So on that note, we are going to end this and
Yes.
talk to y'all later. Bye.